Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining for office hours today. If you've joined in the past, this is kind of a informal event that we have where we can talk through with several fan designers who've signed up ahead of time on the forums. We can talk through things with their models that they have questions on, maybe challenges with Studio they're having with their particular model, stickers, graphic feedback, any kind of thing. We leave this pretty open-ended to talk through any of these topics that people are having, and then also we're doing it kind of in a public forum here, in the sense that everyone can kind of see and watch along and follow along, because some of these questions that they may be asking today can be beneficial to you as you're watching. So this is a pretty kind of open format. We try to keep things pretty loose here and answer all the questions that we can. But then also note that this can be quite long in a sense. I think last time it was 3 hours or something like that. But we'll go through and break it down. And if you are watching live, or if you're watching this later in a recording, then know that we'll break it down by timestamp, so it's easier to kind of jump around based on some of the questions if you want. It will typically be quite a long stream here. So we'll get going with the first fan designer here, and then yeah, feel free to jump in the comments, and we'll try to answer questions that do pop up over time here. So all right, Eric, looks like you're first. How you doing today, Eric?
Yeah, I'm fine. A bit nervous, but we'll see how it goes. Yes.
Good. All right. Oh yes, I remember this one.
This one's very cool.
Incredible model you have here. All right. So Eric, what was your question here?
First question was about the front suspension, because the suspension's arms aren't parallel, and due to that, the wheels won't be like the rear wheels, perpendicular on a flat surface. So yeah, I wanted to do like this to get a bit of camber in the front wheels, like a real racing car. But also I needed to have the attachment points on the frame lower to get the nose a bit like a diving nose.
Yes.
To get that cover that's on top of it, to get it, but yeah, diving. Yeah. Now, could that be an illegal? How do you call it? An illegal technique? Yeah.
Yeah. Everything that we've seen so far, I would say no. I mean, it's impressive that building Technic in any platform is challenging enough, but getting it all lined up the way that you do, it's very clean. You did a great job with that.
Very impressive.
But second, I didn't see anything in here that looks that it would be so. For example, the negative camber that you're referencing, that's totally fine. I don't think, if we're looking at it from the perspective of everything must be flat or parallel, I guess, for the wheels themselves on the ground.
Yeah,
I've never seen anything or can think of anything that would cause an issue with this. But I think what is really cool about that is a kind of new and novel feature, something that you don't typically see, right?
Yeah, I like to do it because I did already other mocks, like a 6-wheeler F1 car, and I did camber at the 4 rear wheels, but I got some camber and caster in the front wheels. So now the 2 front suspension arms are aligned vertically, but then the upper will be a half a stud backwards. So I even have an angle in that way. But here it was impossible to do because I wanted a really compact car. And this one is, yes, I've been building on it from 2024. So it's yeah.
Yeah,
it's at the maximum evolution I can get, I think.
Mm-hmm. No, it is a gorgeous build here, and also too, it is. I think one of the biggest challenges with vehicles is that IP obviously is a huge part in most of the vehicles that people know, especially and same with spaceships. But to have a kind of a truly original design and to have it so fully, fledged out is bravo to you. I mean, it's an awesome model. And then obviously you also have to add in the, when Technic is involved, everything takes on a much more literal technical aspect with it, in the sense that people then expect working steering and suspension and all the other things that come along with it. And so, when you're designing a static image or a static model out of Lego system elements, you can typically cut a little bit more corners where you don't actually have to have the motor doesn't, the pistons of the motor don't rotate and things like that. But then it's in Technic, it's like, oh no, that's now the expectation, and that's the given that it's going to have that. So it's no, great job.
Yeah, at this scale, it is doable. The only thing I couldn't get in was a gearbox, but for all the rest is in it. It's independent suspension, engine, differential, end of God steering. Even the steering wheel is connected. So yeah.
Even the steering wheel? Wow.
Yeah.
That is impressive at this scale. Well done.
If you open the front cover, you can see the link. You can see the links attached. It's
right there.
Wow. There it is.
So
that new 4L link is a real lifesaver, especially for this scale, right?
Yeah.
Oh, very impressive.
Very fun. Love it.
Yeah. I think it's nice too. But yeah, it's gonna be difficult to get it selected, because I will have a very limited audience.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be a Technic interested guy, not system Lego, and you have to be into cars. So we will see. But to me, I should have done it. I was too late for the Series 9, because I got a bit demotivated with the Series 7 and 8, because there was always a problem with finding the right panels or tires or rims. But now it worked out fine. So
very cool.
I'll have a go.
No, that's great, because that is the challenge with BDP, is that from series to series, like you said, it can be discouraging. One series where the parts that you need are not in the palette per se, and so but it's don't in the future those elements may come out, or as a new set comes out, and those elements are now available, and that's why we try to be really proactive in making sure that elements are available in studio as soon as possible. Today, I believe, is when the final update for the Series 10 palette should be going live, the January 1st parts, and what elements will be available out of the most recent wave. Those will be coming today, I believe, as well, sometime this afternoon, or it's Pacific time for us right now, so it's before noon. But for us of the world, maybe when you wake up tomorrow, you'll see those parts live. But no, incredible job with this. And then I think there was another question around video links in your description.
I've never done a real submission, but for the submission page, I saw that some designers put in a video too. Is it a link via YouTube that you can do it? And can you put in several videos? That can maybe be too much, but I mean, in a video you can show much more than you can say with words, or even show a picture like this. Like I can show how the suspension is working and how the hand of God and all those things is working.
Yep.
So
yes, you can definitely put a video in or embed the video with the submission. There's a couple limitations though. With our video player, YouTube Shorts do not work. So just make sure it's not saved as a YouTube Short. It's a standard YouTube uploads work just fine. And then there's only space for one upload. So what it does is it basically you upload a video, and then you basically copy and paste a link into a specific field, and then that will populate it on the page. You don't have to worry about embedding it or anything like that. But yeah, so there is space for it that'll show up on the page, much like you see some of the other designers or other models that are submitted in. You'll see some videos there, and I agree, for something like this, especially where there's motion or features available that are really elevated by a video, I think it definitely helps a lot.
Yeah. So if I do it via a YouTube link, there is not really a limit in size.
No, yeah, you can do it as long as it
depends on you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So instead of, like you said, multiple videos, I would just do one longer video, and then you'll be good.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
And then I see somebody in the questions or somebody in the comments asked, "Are we driving Studio or are you driving Studio?" I know. So the fan designers have provided some fan designers have provided their Studio models ahead of time. And so Dallin's got Studio open over here, and he's kind of following along as we're talking through the models. So for any fan designers that are in the queue that are thinking about are coming up and curious about that, yes. So we're working off of the models that you shared ahead of time. So that's why we ask for them, is so we have them, so we can kind of reference and talk through these things. So
yeah, much easier to talk about. Yes. Yeah.
And then I think you had a question around the modularity of this model.
Yeah. How can I say it? I built it in a way that you can disassemble it like almost a real racing car, because it's mid-engine, and then the rear suspension and engine are one sub model, and you can detach it by those gray pins. So I hope the way I did it, that it's not too complicated, all the sub models I've made in it. You see?
No, I don't think that that's too complicated. I think, like you said, that is a feature, and that is something that you should, obviously you put a lot of design thought into that, right? So that is something that I would make sure you are highlighting in the additional renders that are, I think there's 10 images that you can have for each model. So I would definitely dedicate one or two of those to showing this is what it looks like when it's disassembled, or some kind of text to on a render to show that this allows you to have some modularity with this vehicle, not in the sense that you're going to take the front wheels off and put them on the rear, but in the sense that if you wanted to kind of have that additional playability with the model, have the ability to upgrade certain areas or take things off or move them around, fix things, you can do that. Much like a regular or a normal race car would have some modularity. You don't have to just rip the whole thing apart to fix one little thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Very cool.
So, yeah, I have all my answers. So for me, it's all clear.
Excellent. Well, great. It was wonderful talking to you, and we look forward to seeing the final submission. Congratulations with everything you've done so far. It's an incredible model.
It's so cool.
Kudos to you for sure.
Okay. Well. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, Eric.
See you.
All right, let's go on to our next one. Hello, good to see you.
Hi, Alex. Yeah, I'm back.
So
with
it's been a good couple days here for you, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'm trying to make something different and something unique again. And I'm a bit like Eric in this case, because it's a technical model. They are mechanic functions because it's a kinetic sculpture. So you can see on the right side there is a crank, and when you rotate it, the islands can move. The design is modular as well. So there is the front, the middle, and the back. And the crank can be placed on either the right or the left side of the model. So if you're right-handed or left-handed, you can use it the way you want. And you can also plug an electric motor in the back to make it run itself. So my question was more about the details, because our submission has more than 2,000 pieces. So that's a lot. And I was a bit afraid that it would make a model that's a bit expensive. So I was wondering if we could keep the works like that, or if we should simplify it.
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, obviously, if you're looking at this model, it's extremely well detailed, and that is something that we always want to push for, right? Like when we talk about the difference between mocks and Lego models, one of the benefits of BDP is that we get to kind of be somewhere in the middle, in the sense of taking the really extreme detail that you would generally see in a mock, compared with kind of the manufacturability and durability, repeatability of a Lego model design. That's where I look at it and say, I think we generally provide a lot of feedback to all of our fan designers when they're requesting feedback around part count, and I think this is something that comes up quite a bit. And even with Eric on the past model is, I always try to think about how do you right size the model based on the part count for the theme, or the theme and the type of model that you are building. So we don't use this as a price guide, but fans will say 10 cents per part, kind of as a general rule of thumb. And I think this is something that pops up kind of almost like subconsciously when fan design, or when fans are voting on models, is they'll look at a 2,000 part model and say, is that $200? Is that worth $200 to me? And so I generally will say, if you first, like you as the fan designer, need to look at a model and say, would I be comfortable paying X amount based off of, take the part count, divide it by 10, basically. And if I would pay for that, then you're probably in the right direction. And if you wouldn't pay for that, then I would say, okay, well then what do you need to do to tweak that, to get it to a place where you are really comfortable with it? Now, to be clear, that isn't always, it is a good guideline, but there's all kinds of things, like we have to think about
the size of parts and packaging costs, right. And there's
because here there's a lot of small parts to make the details, so it's not as expensive as big bricks.
Absolutely. Yeah, and because it's kind of flawed logic to think a 1x16 Technic brick has the same cost as a 1x1 round plate, right? They clearly don't. But if you're talking about parts, and obviously this is something that comes through with like art sets per se, where it's a lot of smaller elements. It's a lot of the same elements. So from a manufacturing standpoint, it's a lot easier to produce. Lot count is something that it's interesting, because you mentioned lot count here. And that's probably one of the kind of the more hidden features of BDP models compared to a Lego model design. And that is, the amount of parts that does add cost in a sense, because there's more space in the production environment to hosting, all the different elements that we are using to assemble a set. But I don't know that that's something that fan designers should worry about too much. Maybe, like I think every once in a while, when you're building a set, you'll see, oh, there's 2 1x3s here. Why didn't they use a 1x6 plate instead?
Yes, I noticed. Yes.
And it's almost always because, well, they need a 1x3 element somewhere else within that bag, and then
they've optimized it.
They've optimized it, right? Where it's like, okay, it's one less part that we have to include, so that simplifies the process. Or you'll see like, it's always a 1x1 round plate instead of, why didn't they use, and it's always one color throughout the bag instead of it being like a matching 1x1 regular plate in the same color. And it's because it's hidden. It doesn't, so it's an operational efficiency. I don't think you need to worry about those things as much.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think especially where this is a micro scale model, where detail's kind of the emphasis you need.
Absolutely.
So having a higher part count for a micro scale makes sense. And then because they're smaller parts, that also factors into the cost as well. So I think you're right about where you need to be on this one.
Okay, perfect. That's nice. I think we are almost done with the design. So it's good to know that we don't have to worry too much about the different the lot count and the final parts count. Like Eric, we are going to try to make a video to showcase the functions of the model. And then, well, we're gonna submit it and we're gonna give it a try. And yeah, that's good. Okay, that's perfect. Nice.
This is very cool. I love this model.
No, and I think too, you know, like we mentioned before, the motion that is involved with this model.
Yes.
Obviously, you're going to want to highlight that and
Absolutely,
find a way to, you know, I think the other thing is main images.
Definitely, yeah.
Is how do you incorporate, you know, you don't want your main image to be too busy, but how do you at first glance get people to realize there's much more to this model than it initially looks like, right? Because it could just appear to be a static
I think
model.
on this one you could just add like, you know, for the handle that just hints that there's motion and there's a mechanism inside. That it's enough that it doesn't take away from the front image, but it does hint that there's more to it, and it incentivizes people to click on it and look deeper.
Yeah, we're gonna look into that to promote and to showcase yes that there is movement and not just a static model, but people can choose to display it as a static model if they want. But I think the main point of that is that there's movement, and it's gonna be pretty cool to see it move.
Yep,
definitely.
Yeah, and there's a comment here from Nurse Nikki Bricks, and same with your model, and here and that. You don't necessarily need to have a video, because I think this is one of the more restrictive things about BDP, and one of the great things about BDP is that since it's all studio models, right, everything's built digitally, so you have all the elements. You don't need to be an expert in Blender to go and animate your model like some designers have the ability to do that, but I know I can't do that. And I don't know any video of us that could do that. But I do think by showing arrows and maybe rendering things in different, you know, so for example, you can have multiple renders where, or save your model as different versions. And so you can kind of have, like, if there's motion up and down, you can have part of it one render where it's down, the next render where it's up, and you can splice together your or be able to show, like, you know, multiple images side by side of this motion going up and down. And then also when you're rendering, we always recommend you render with a transparent background, because then that'll also allows you to kind of layer things easily, to choose different backgrounds for, you know, the amount of time spent rendering takes a lot longer than just swapping out a background in a
it's something I was planning to do, already. And maybe also make a render where the mechanism is visible, so people can see where all the linkages go, and what happens kind of inside the clouds. Because of course there's a lot of gears, a lot of motion that's not really visible, but I already plan on showing this in a dedicated render. But actually, what I wanted to do was to build the model physically and shoot a video with the actual model, so the people could see it for real.
Oh, very cool.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, I think one way I've seen that you can show off features like this is to render it twice, but render the mechanism separate and then superimpose it, and then you can kind of hide the back one a little bit, and then you can show off the mechanism.
You change the transparency on it.
I was thinking
that done very well, and that's very effective for showing a model without having to do a video.
Well, we'll see. Yeah, see if I can get a video in time before the end of the submission period. I will do it, but if I can't, we are gonna do renders that showcase the movement. Yeah.
Very cool.
Cool. Any other questions, Victor?
No, that's all. You really reassured me, so I'm happy to know that I'm good to go. So I'm gonna submit it as is, and hopefully people will like it.
Perfect. All right. Well, congratulations again, Victor. For those of you that don't know, Victor is the fan designer for Waltz. That has just been, we just released the final set images for that model. And there's been a lot of really positive feedback for that. So congratulations again. And then we look forward to seeing with you on February 16th how crowdfunding for that model goes. So
yeah, I'm really excited for that.
We'll be in contact. All right. Thank you, Victor. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Next, we're gonna go over to Daniel. Hey, Daniel, how you doing?
Hey guys, what's up?
We're doing well. Good to see you again.
I know. I'm actually in my Lego room in the garage that my wife graciously let me build this summer. And I will say, the pirate ships, I think there might be a nice addition that may have to
I know
go
ours is up top. It's hard to see right now.
to yesterday. Oh, and for if Victor, he may not be still listening, but he should look at Baron von Baron, who's a fan designer on Lego Ideas. He does a really good job of showing mechanisms in his renderings. So maybe I'll send him a message or something, but it's a good example for that.
All right, keep that in mind. I want to look at that.
Baron von Baron.
Yeah, he's been in the 10K club like 20 times. He's one of the best. He's gonna break through at some point. Thanks for having me on again.
Absolutely.
So I guess I'll probably start first. This is not an unfamiliar model at this point, and I think this is the best version yet. I actually did build it. I think I emailed y'all some videos of it. I am curious, were y'all able to test build this one this time around, or were the stability issues resolved? That's my first question, because that just didn't come up in the feedback this round. If y'all are able to give some feedback on that.
We did not test build it this time, but that was also just mostly to a lot. We have a lot more time over the summer, in the sense of the summer series. There's a longer time in between, and so that's why we built a lot of models that time around. But looking at the digital model, there was significant improvements in the sense of, we provided a lot of feedback in the sense of, here were the things that were the biggest red flags that we saw in a sense, and with those being addressed, then we're probably in a place where things are fixable in that sense, right? Because it's rare that we're going to really find something that's like, this is a complete non-starter, right? Because I think a lot of people automatically assume there's an issue with my model that's going to prevent it from being selected as a finalist. No, all models have some form of things that we have to go through, and whether it is detail related things or if it's a structural thing, for example, most buildings that we do, we always have to reinforce the floor, right? But that's not going to prevent us from working on something. Now, we will kind of proactively look at some models and say, like, the first time we saw the Wizard Tower, is like, okay, let's test build this, because you do have kind of this cantilever design, and it's it's not linear from top to bottom, right? So the stability of that, we'll look at that and say, oh, okay, let's try that. Let's see how that works, for example. It's so necessary when we test build things, it's because we're looking at it, say like, oh, that's really interesting. Let's see how that works. Because visually, when we look at it the first time, it's like, okay, let's see. And then 9 times out of 10 when we do it, we see it and we're like, wow, that works. Like, no, that really works. Like, that's so it's rare that we run into things where it's like, oh no, we got to completely redesign this, right? So don't fret about that part of it.
Okay. No, I've heard you enough, and you've been incredibly you've been very available the past couple of months on various talk shows and stuff, and I think you keep preaching the same message over and over about things. I think it's really helped a lot of us get some clarity on how the selection process is made and all of that. So I just want to say I appreciate that.
No, happy to do it. I mean, at the end of the day, like the fan designers are putting a ton of work into this, right? Like this is it's a lot of work to create a model that can be rebuilt, essentially, right? Like it's one thing to come up with a really good idea, and then especially for those that go to conventions and bring mocks, like it takes a ton of time to do that, and then also to go and say, okay, now I also have to make this so that somebody else can build it too.
Yeah, it's a whole step.
To
so build it in studio and make a digital model and get all the angles and things. It's a challenge. So well done.
So it's the least we can do is to provide as much feedback as we can on this and help guide you through the process, right? Like and it's only going to help you become a better designer, or at least I hope it does at the end of the day. So but you had some questions around kind of like playability and things like that.
Yeah, so I think like my main thoughts are like y'all can't divulge obviously, but I'm getting the sense that it's very close, right? And so and obviously I just have this feeling, and so I feel like the part count is something I don't want to mess with, even though you've said over and over a sub 1400 part model would be we need more of those. I actually messed around with like just deleting the whole base and having it, but I think it just takes away from the verticality and the proportions. I think this model wants to be a 2400 to 2600 part model, and it just, so I've moved on from that. My two main.
I think you're right though. No, I'm sorry to cut you off here, but it's the part count is good. If you're in the 2500-ish part range, like you're in a good place for the most part, right? And obviously we mentioned what we talked about earlier about making sure your model's, in a place where you think it's the value makes sense. A couple hundred parts here or there generally doesn't make a giant difference. It's more of there's like some bands that you typically see models selected in. And that's where I say like the 1500 part range, like if there's two very highly voted, or if there's a very highly voted 1500 part and an 800 part set, like that opens the door for two 4000 part sets. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's always gonna be the case. Like in over the course of all the 9 series we've had so far, there's been 2 in that range. I guess Antique Collection and Brick Railroad Locomotive. So, or I guess Mushroom House was kind of in there, but it was also the smallest set. So, it really is the luck of the draw, right? Like it's a coin flip, and that, how does the part count really affect at the end of the day? And so that's why, it's kind of nice that you submit to multiple series, because one series it might not work, and the next series it does work, and it can definitely work in your advantage. Where maybe there are things that were higher voted, but your part count helped you, and that's what allowed you to kind of fit that puzzle piece to be selected.
So part of my submission is now thinking strategy in a way. And I have and I want to hear y'all's thoughts on some of the playability in a second, but as you can see, I have a whole bunch of minifigures off to the left, and I've started to think about the theming a little bit differently. And I was just curious, because you have clearly you made a distinction on some of your talks, Alex, about fantasy versus castle. And so I am curious if, like, I was thinking about, rather than the different factions coming together at a round table to talk to the classic wizard, that I more so like just say it's actually a D&D party. You got a cleric and a warrior and a druid, and they're actually going to go like maybe visit the wizard's tower or something, and that it's actually, I'm staying away from the krakens and the horse knights, and more so just having it a little more fantasy. And I'm asking, does that have any impact on, like, how the sort of a 4000 part castle set gets in, and then this is also a castle set, but it gets blocked. But if it's in the fantasy world, would that also does that make sense, or does it even matter in y'all's estimation? That's one thing that kind of got me excited about thinking about the next layer of storytelling potentially. And it also gets into y'all's feedback. I want to get some thoughts on, of like, when you say you wrote, like, is there any aspects that could play functions around the wizard aspect model, like magic tricks, or how the tower is protected by magic? So those are 2 things I just want to get y'all's feedback on mostly.
Yeah, I think, like you mentioned earlier, once you're at the kind of the top from a voting standpoint, the thing that we historically see is play features and neat little tricks and novel uses of elements are that extra little bump, right? And so that's where we're approaching that, right? Where it's like the model is very well refined at this point. So what can you do to just give it that extra little oomph to get it over the line? And if you look at things like the privateer frigate Fortuna, you know, it was submitted 4 or 5 times before it became a finalist. But over time, the model was refined and refined and refined. And even after being selected as a finalist, we refined even more on it. So, but it's again, it's what are those little things you can do? So example, this is a wizard tower. I mean, to me, I would think about it, and Dallin, I'm curious what you think about, but regardless of whether you go fantasy or castle, it's really just dependent on the minifigures that you use. But minifigures in BDP sets are often afterthoughts in a sense of like it's the main model itself, right? Like the minifigures will help sell the model, but at the end of the day, it should be does the build actually draw you in, right? I don't know. I look at it and say like it's a wizard tower. So what makes it a wizard tower outside of just some of the iconography? Like, is there some like warding spells or so? I'm trying to think of like what could you do that would be kind of a fun feature that like, oh, we didn't expect this, but there's a dragon hatchery that pops out of the bottom when they cast a specific spell or something. I'm thinking of like little things.
The story that gets built into the structure.
I think the red dragon's tail. Yeah, go ahead, Dallin.
Oh, sorry. I think it's cool when there's like a story built into the model, and it's an experience when you put it together and find the little details and explore the story as you build it. And I think, that kind of stuff will elevate a model and make it interesting. What were you gonna say? Sorry.
I was thinking about it, how you were saying that, like in the same way that the red dragon's tail has sort of like a story and they're sort of going through a journey, and so like maybe the travelers are going into the cave and they stumble upon some type of trap, or there's some type of like you're saying, like green ooze that comes out, or like out in the outside, maybe there's like a hidden like removable stone that's got like maps and stuff inside of it, so that they're discover, or a key or something, like things like that like as you're building the model, you're building a story into it. I added the little forest guardian guy as well.
No, he's really cool.
Very good,
great addition.
Some type of, and I know I have like the other, I don't know if you, but on the other side under the tree there is a play feature where there's a little eyeball, like you twist the knob. I don't know if you noticed that. And maybe it could be played out better but if you swing around the other side, under the tree, there is 2 eyeballs.
There you go. Yeah, this one.
And you twist the knob, and that is actually on a gearbox, and it turns left and right. And so it's 2 eyeballs. And so it actually, the head can turn around and be black. And so it just looks like a hole. But then the tree, the tree becomes alive. And one of my renderings shows like one of the guys held upside down by the tree. And so there is, you can see there's a gearbox and it twists in there and whatever.
So that perfect. That's exactly the type of stuff. And sorry that we missed that, but
that's okay. And maybe
those are the types of things I think that go a long way, right? And like, what is with a wizard, you expect some form of mysticism and magic, right? And so it's how do you build a little bit of that magic into it? And obviously play functions are difficult, right? Like it's hard to figure out and to get things to in a compact space, but those are types of little things where it's like, okay, how can we, maybe how could you tailor some of this to work with that? Because you would assume for anyone coming to this place, there would expect to be some kind of like creepy otherworldly things happening around it in a sense. So
maybe there's like the trap door obviously at the library downstairs that goes into the basement, and there's actually a sliding door right there. You see that knob at the cave on the right side bottom? If you go to that's actually a sliding wall. So that's a secret door from the cave into so it's a secret passage from the cave into the cellar. And so you actually, like, if you look at how the layout of the basement is, the secret cave, those 2 rooms connect, and then the cellar connects, but that slides in and out. And so that's sort of how the adventurers would like you know, sneak into the wizard's tower and sort of like go up through it. But there might be something inside that cave area that's a little more fantasy, like neon green colors or a skeleton or something that would kind of like play up, or even like a skeleton with a helmet and a sword who like comes to life as he's sort of they stumble into the cave and he's enchanted a skeleton, and
like a
so
guardian,
maybe there's a few skeletons that kind of like give a sense of necromancy or something. So you know, I think the challenge I run into is I feel like the renderings, I've done my best, but it's like, you know, unless you're poring over every image, it is hard to like highlight these play functions at sort of the 30,000 foot level. And so, you know, I do think that like the Dragon Inn Marin has the sort of play feature where all the people are spinning with the music. I mean, you know, it's clearly took a lot of time and effort in building physically to do so. And so, or Sleepless Night and the Crypt with the rising,
Transylvania.
Those things are the stuff that do set models apart. And so I'm trying to put that in there while I'm building digitally, but you know, and the only other question, so I don't know, I feel like I do have some play features in there, but I think you're right about how do I describe it in a way that tells a story or a journey throughout the Wizard's Tower, possibly. That could help highlight some of that.
Yeah, and I think you did this with Alchemy Shop too, or Alchemist Shop, in the sense that, you know, you can see throughout all of the details in the model, there's, you know, the front little orchard garden area has different elements that are then show up in the recipes.
Their ingredients for some of the potions and things.
So like it's a different part of the model, but it ties together, right?
Yeah,
in a sense.
Maybe some designing some stickers. I'll be careful, and there's some backlash on that. But like, you know, I'm all for it. I agree that the AI can help with the barrier of entry.
It definitely helps. There's no problem with using AI.
Maybe
we
there's no
redesign
stickers
everything
right now, but maybe focusing on some stickers too that could help just elevate the design and give it some layering of detail. And the other thing is, like, I'm like right at 2470 parts. Like, by adding some of these elements in, and if it gets close to 2600, is that a deal breaker for y'all with regards to like in one category or the next, or is like,
it really
would
depends?
You rather see me? Go ahead.
It really depends, because again, it comes down to part count, but it's also something where generally we can, when we're reviewing, so kind of some inside baseball here in the sense of, like, when we're reviewing a model, you will see by the time the model that's submitted and then the model that comes out are different. You'll see the part count fluctuate a little bit. Sometimes part count goes down, sometimes it goes up, and that's fully to how much part efficiency can we find within the model when we're going through, because again, we're a second set of eyes. It's not that, you know, we share things internally too when we're working on them, because the second set of eyes will see something different, say, oh, why didn't you do it this way? And it's like, oh, I just didn't even think about that, right? So, you know, there will be part count savings that we find throughout the model, whether that be new elements that are coming out or ways of doing things differently that we might be able to share. So, you know, 50 parts here or there isn't going to make a big difference, because if it's, you know, we're trying to hit that 2,500 part count range, you know, we have some flexibility in that, knowing, okay, we've taken a look at this model, we can probably pull some parts out of this. It's gonna be fine.
And I've like revised because this is the third, fourth time I'm doing it, so I've already done so much part efficiency, and so it's like I would want to be able to use 75 extra parts to layer in the storytelling, like you said, rather than like taking off components to add that stuff in. And so if it's like mentally, if I'm like, well, I could probably get closer to 2550 and know that I'm probably still okay because they want a little bit more detail, then I think I would rather be okay to do that, knowing that that's not like a 2500 is your hard cap, you know, like it's just again, like it's just it seems like it's a little more nuanced than that. It'd be different if it was 3100 pieces or something. Okay. Cool. Well, no, I think this gets me excited. I mean, I think that's the main thing too, is like we need to be excited about what we're working on. And so like, I think rather than having like 2 faction people that are just around the tower, maybe tying them as a party and group of friends that are visiting, and like maybe stay. Even like, I don't even think that a blue wizard is even necessary. Like, I think just something like, I think to just sort of think more about the whole story, and like, rather than having 2 snake knights, 2 griffin knights, and 2 horse knights, a party of people going on an adventure and traveling through some story makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. And it doesn't need to be a blue wizard, right? Exactly what you said. It doesn't need to be a blue wizard. It could be a wizard from a different faction. It could be non-faction, and you go fantasy route. I don't think it's going to make a difference whether you go fantasy or castle with this model in its current sense, because it can literally go either direction. And I think that that's almost sometimes a benefit. You see, like Alchemist Shop had the same thing where it could go either direction, right? And so it ends up
I just don't
going to more designers.
I don't want like I just know that last round there was just this insane wave of massive castles for Kraken and Griffin, and it's going to happen again. We just know it, right? And I want to hear from y'all that like, when I submit, I'm fully happy with it being in either direction. That like if there was a fantasy set selected and a super highly voted massive castle set selected, then it's like, I don't really care, if that makes sense, like for this project, you know what I mean? And so
I think just worry about submitting the best model you can, and don't worry about what others are submitting, in a sense, because if a 4,000 part castle was going to win every series, well, history says that's not true. So it's actually more rare than it is happening. So yeah. All right.
Well, I'm excited about it.
Go ahead.
No, you're saying.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're gonna kind of wrap up here, go on to the next designer. Thank you for your time here. And then also, there was a couple questions that we saw in the chat that I just want to address real quick. I saw one about the a parts update. So it should be live. I just got a notification here from the team that went live. So I think it should be in production right now. If you have to refresh, you'd have to restart and refresh. But yeah. So, and then I think there was one other thing. There's one other thing, that I see. And that was, there was a different question I saw that was around part designer. And if you're continuing to see an error with part designer, just send us the screenshots that you're seeing, or a screenshot of the errors that you're seeing, and then we can help talk you through that. That's the BDP support at lego.com email, and then we can help with that. So yeah, all good there. All right, who are we going to next? Okay, where was the question on that? All right, so this designer is not going to be joining, but they had sent in some questions regarding stickers, so we can talk through that real quick. Do we have?
Is there a way I can pull that up?
Okay, I can. You have? It should be a sticker file.
I don't have for 4. Is there a way you can pull it up? I don't have it.
Hold with us. Let's pull up the sticker file here. All right. All right, I'm going to open this in a different file so we can see this real quick, and then I will do my screen. Okay, can we share my screen then? Or do I have to do it from?
Do you have to share it from yours there?
Yeah,
somewhere?
1 second here. That's the very bottom. Oh, there it is. Got it. Cool. I was looking for the tab. Okay. And then can you see it in StreamYard? There it is. Perfect. Okay. So it's live. All right. So they want to talk about these stickers here. So there's questions around, the only thing you did differently was create a few stickers with Easter eggs or subtle references to existing Lego properties. I've attached the sticker sheet, but to summarize this list of stickers with the references: a tournament poster with the 4 factions, a wanted poster with Robin Hood shown, and then a Kraken logo that would be applied to a sail, a Phoenix banner where the Phoenix symbol came from an old Ninjago set. Okay. Forest feasts inspired by the Forestman shield. Okay. So it's kind of like I guess probably something for a tile, maybe a banner. And then a blacksmith logo mixed with the Black Falcon shield patterns. Oh, that's kind of cool. So it's designers just asking for feedback on the stickers, and they would want to just know. So yeah, I guess the only questions that we would have with this is, in essence, is how do you want your stickers? I think from a quality standpoint, these are totally fine, right? There's no issue with them there. I know that the great debate rages over AI use and stickers and whatnot like that. Like, this is perfectly fine. If I was doing stickers, I'm just thinking about, like, they would be terrible stick figures in Microsoft Paint, but even then, if you're doing that, that's totally fine, right?
Yeah,
like
it's
stickers,
a proof of concept, sketch model.
Yeah, they're totally proof of concept.
It's to sell the idea of the model, and then we'll have a graphic designer that makes them match the Lego style, and there's a whole process to that. So
yeah, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. The thing with stickers is, like, yeah, and you can use other templates. So for example, I think there were a couple different ones on here where, like, you talked about the Falcon or the Phoenix popping up. Like, yeah, it's good. You use other references and things like that. That's totally fine. I think especially for things like wanted posters and other general iconography, it's good to use things that are already other. It's not that you're, like, straight up stealing the design, but it is good to have inspiration from other designs, because then it feels like it's of the same world.
It's an Easter egg. It ties everything together. Yeah.
Yeah. So example, yeah. For example, you're talking about Easter eggs and things like that, especially having the different faction symbols on there. That's great. Like, that's something that ties that sticker into the general world of that, or whatever that lore may be. The harder thing is, so for example, you're talking about, like, the Kraken symbol on the I think it was a sail that we're going to put this on, is thinking about how that you're going to use that element, or what element you can use that's going to be large enough to, if you're going to put something on a sail. For example, like, can you build a 6x6 tile into what your sails are? Because then that's a nice large sticker piece that can be on there. Because the challenge is, you can't put stickers across multiple pieces, right? And so the limiting factor of using a sticker on an element is using an element that is, not only can it have a sticker applied to it where it's not have complex curves in multiple directions, but then also that when you put a sticker on it, it seems like it is to scale with what you're looking to use it for. So no, I think a lot of these stickers are great, and they do exactly what you need to do, or what you're trying to convey, and that is the idea of what the sticker should be doing. And then the Lego graphic designer, should you be selected as a finalist, will then go through and refine it with you. So yeah, it's don't feel like you need to be perfect with your stickers. Like, stickers are great to use because they help differentiate your model.
Yeah, it's the one area where you can kind of customize and make it personal and individual, unique as a model.
And it helps too, like we were just talking about story.
Definitely.
Stickers add a lot of story, right? So that's where you can really add some interesting things in with stickers. So cool. All right. We will go on to, oh, there was a question around, could you explain what dictates being able to use CMF pieces like the Wolfpack Beastmaster Shield and Wolfpack being, or the Wolf being an Outlaw Forest Den? So it totally just depends on what's available at the time. So sometimes there's overlap in our production window where an element is available, and sometimes there isn't. CMFs parts sometimes go on to be included in other things. So for example, you'll see the wolf is used in the was it the Arctic train? Is it the Arctic train we have in the office that has?
Yes.
Yeah, that has a wolf in it. So
Yes.
so it was then used in something else. So sometimes things are available, sometimes they're not. So it really just depends. A majority of CMF parts are not available, right? Sometimes a few things get adopted into other sets. So
yeah, best practice is use the palette, build as much into it as you can, and then if we can add things to it after the fact, we can do that. But it just depends on Lego and production dates and things.
And then something about pirate factions returning. No, not there's nothing in the palette, for example. I guess, well, the only thing from a returning standpoint, it's not like you should expect to see other things popping up. If you see it announced in an official set, then that's where you're going to see it as a good chance of it returning. The only thing, so I think something that comes up quite a bit is, we saw this in a CMF, we saw this in a Lunar New Year set, or kind of sometimes Winter Village sets. It just depends on, or like seasonal sets for, if there was a recolored element in a holiday set, but it has a short shelf life of like a year or something like that. Those parts won't typically end up in BDP because of the naturally short shelf life of it. But then sometimes that part gets picked up somewhere else and then it gets extended. So that's why I think you'll see, if you were following along with the palettes in December, when we find out everything's being extended or being shortened, then that palette adjusts quite significantly. So then all of a sudden in December, all of a sudden you see a ton of new elements jump into the palette. That's because things have been extended or their production life has been extended. And so now they're available for BDP again. But yeah, if we have to, we totally rely on other themes and the minifigures that they have. So if something is announced and then it's available, and then it's after it's launched, then it's potentially available to be in the palette. So we don't have the ability to then just go out and say, oh yeah, we're making this and we're adding it. Is Robin Hood an IP you can use? I don't know. That's a great question. I mean, we'd have to look into it more in the sense of, you can have kind of like iconography and things like that of like the Forest Men. They're kind of loosely Robin Hoodish. I don't know how old off the top of my head the Robin Hood story is. For example, like Frankenstein and Dracula are in the public domain at this point, but there are certain things that you can't do with Dracula, or with Frankenstein. I think it's like the bolts in the neck, and some things are part of the visual medium rather than the novelization that's part of the public domain. So certain things like that, those are things to look out for. But if you're generally loose, you're good. So, okay, let's go on to the next designer here. How you doing? Good to see you again. I think we met at, I as soon as I saw this ship, I remembered, and I was like, I saw this at Scareback.
Yeah, that's true. Thanks for the information you gave me back then. It was quite useful stuff. You mentioned some things about how to make the bag that opens a bit more accessible, and hide that thing. So thanks for that, and thanks for taking the time to organize all this effort. Is quite useful.
Absolutely.
So my first question is, this is a spaceship, and Lego has a lot of space stuff right now, CT, Star Wars, and now Star Trek. So would that be a reason to exclude the spaceship from being selected as a finalist?
No, and I think we talked about this a little bit earlier too. Is the challenge of space and of vehicles is that you have IP, but generally this is a custom creation that you made, right? So there's no reason for Star Wars or any other space-based themes or IPs to prevent your model from going forward, right? Like the only thing that obviously we have portfolio conflicts, but if you're dealing with a, you know, if you designed a Blacktron ship and then last year the Blacktron Renegade came out, then like obviously, right, that's a portfolio conflict. But if you are doing your own novel concept, that it doesn't matter if there's another spaceship coming, it's your own spaceship, right? So from that perspective, I wouldn't worry about it.
Got it, thanks. The second one is about building. So if you go in the back, in the back side of it, and you see inside,
yes.
there is this support, a yellow support,
Oh,
and
cool.
on that there is a gray, the espresso bar, you know, the one element, and that sticks to a headlight brick. And
is it a headlight brick or is it a D-snot?
It's a headlight.
It's a headlight.
Okay, it's a headlight. Okay, and is that needed?
I think I couldn't line up the D-snot. Yeah.
Okay, the D-snot, the height just didn't work. Okay.
Now, the thing is that the wall is angled with a hinge brick, but the headlight brick is rotated about 5 degrees compared to the wall, if you see. This seems to be legal to me, and there are some references of some people from the LEGO community mentioned that the Galaxy Explorer and the Arkham Asylum are using something extremely similar. The only difference is that there is a lot more space around it. So the round bricks here allow it to rotate about 10 degrees, what the studio says. But I'm not sure if that still counts as legal because it is a bit more tight.
It's to me at first glance, without really getting into it, to me it looks fine.
I agree.
Right. And I also think it's one of those things that we would look at and say, this is not a deal breaker, right? If let's say that we went through and we did a very in-depth review on it and did the test build and we ran into an issue, this is still something that we could find a creative solution for, right? Having 6-7 brains think about through what's the way to resolve this one issue is generally a little bit more efficient than you being like, okay, I think I have to figure out how to fix this by myself, right? So this isn't, I wouldn't consider this to be a non-starter. Generally, like it first glance, it looks like it passes the test. And it looks like there's enough engagement with the bar and the inside of the stud. So to me that would be the bigger issue is there enough engagement from the clutch on the inside, right? So, and that seems to be fine too. And oh wait, no, it's that bar has there's like a little pin on the bottom of it or a little a rib, so it would prevent. I was gonna say you could put a hollow 1x1 on there, but no, you couldn't. It would be blocked by that pin that's on the bottom there.
It's really close. Yeah. You might be able to even get a stud on there.
You might, and it might change things off. But yeah, those are all things that we play around with and say like, okay, what works best?
Yeah, so, not a deal breaker. Yeah, is.
I would.
That's perfect.
But no, it's a smart technique, right? And you see it pop up in other places too. So
yeah, and I think the cool thing with BDP is that you can submit it with these techniques, and then if we catch it in review and have to change it, then we will. But I think aim for the side of cool first, and then if we have to dial it back, we will. But in this case,
the good thing is that in studio, at least, it looks buildable. I build it myself, so I can't see intention, but I'm not an expert, so that's why I'm asking here.
Yeah, this is awesome. So.
Perfect, thanks. My next question is about flexible elements, and as you can see, there are 7 of them in this build. They are floating in the air because I couldn't attach them actually. They follow some quite complex angles. If I can show how it goes, for example, there are a lot of things going over there. It goes around the nacelle and things like that. So it used to not to be possible to build this in Studio. Now you have some more advanced tools, but still, I don't know if it's worth the time and the investment to actually make all those 7 flex properly in space.
So you should be able to, assuming you have the latest version of Studio, you should have the new flexible element tool. And so do you want to show how that works?
Yeah, so this one, you can move it individually by each segment and then lock each segment. So it's actually really helpful for long flexible tubes like you're doing where it bends in multiple directions. You can take and position each link individually. So
yeah, so if you're historically, the tool was much more difficult to use in the sense where it was much more wet spaghetti than it is now, where you can kind of lock it in place. So I think it would probably be worth it, at least from a render standpoint. And also note too, I think this is, we talked about this last office hours. If there's a collision with your flexible elements, don't worry about it. Like it's gonna be very difficult to get it perfect, but as long as it is there showing kind of a semblance of this is what it's supposed to do, then you're in a good place, right? And I think it's going to, there might be ways, and there are, I shouldn't say there might be, there are ways to make custom versions of elements in Part Designer, and you can go that route or make it in Blender and import it in that. Yeah, you can do that, and then that way it's in your renders. But I also think with the new flexible element tool, you should be able to do it no problem. And then just like what Dallin just did, you can copy and mirror it, and then you have it for the other side.
So you only have to do it once, and then you have it.
Unfortunately, there are no symmetrical ones, so yeah,
that's too bad.
That's why they're going to have to be 7 separate ones. Is it? Just in case, if I want to save the time investment here for that, if I use photos, 10 photos for that, would it be acceptable? Because the photos show how this is connected, and just submit it like that for the studio file, and obviously for the 10 photos, everything looks correct.
Yeah, so I think technically the guidelines say that the main image needs to be a render, and then everything else can be photos. If you can make the render, or sorry, if you can make your photo be indistinguishable from a render, then we generally are like, we're not private eyeing it and looking and seeing, oh, is this a render? Is this a photo? That's more in place there so that it's a level playing field, because I think we say like, the floor of photos is really low and the floor or the ceiling of photos is really high, whereas renders, the floor is at a consistent place and it's much higher than the floor of photos. So, but the ceiling of renders and photos is indistinguishable. So if you can do the same, that's fine with us. It's more just to level the playing field for everyone else. Same as, if we really promote physical photos, then that requires, like, there's a really high barrier to entry, because then now you have to have parts for physical photos, right? So if you can do it and you can do it well, and it's really not distinguishable, then it's fine. Go ahead, do it. I mean, it's more of that guideline's there to help everyone have the same floor. If you want to do a photo and your floor is lower than that, then I mean, that's your choice in a sense, but I would assume if you want to go that route, then you have the photography skills to get it to where it needs to be. But your other models, other images, that could be a little bit of a challenge. But yeah.
Okay, good. I had another question, but I think that you already answered it before. This spaceship has functioning landing gear. So the issue is that in one photo, I can't show how it works and how it holds the whole weight. So I was thinking of putting in one photo, the 3 segments where it slowly opens up. And I would like to ask if that is acceptable, but I think that you already gave a similar answer to that.
Yeah, and if you wanted to do like show the landing gear popping out or something like that, you could do, like we talked about, the multiple renders, where it's like you can stack renders from the same angle. And then have them at different transparencies to show like the legs coming down, or if that's, if you're trying to show landing legs coming down, like you can show, them kind of disappearing and then slowly going up into the ship. So there's definitely ways to get around that without needing too much movie magic.
Okay, yeah, that's perfect. And my final question is about stickers. I have stickers only inside in the cockpit. And for this spot count, around 1,800, I think it's about 8. But I actually have 10. And you said that the limits are not, hard limits. They might be a bit flexible. So 8 versus 10, would that be okay?
Yeah, well, so one of the things we did for this series was we increased the minifigure count because it is it's probably a bit restrictive in the sense, and I don't know that we necessarily are using it as it is a guideline, right? But it is not a hard and fast rule, like part of the terms and conditions type of thing. So yeah, you're in the ballpark, right? Like it's, as long as it's not being abused, then you're in a good place, right? It's just like how we talk about skeletons and statues. Like they're not technically part of minifigures. Again, we're just trying to get away from something like you have a model, and I always think about this with speed champions. It's like there's so many good models that are done for speed champions, but they have 40 stickers.
They do a lot of stickers,
right?
as
And
well,
it's like that's an extreme example of a good use of that. But I also don't know that, like, we talk about minifigures and being like, we don't want a model with 400 parts, but it has 20 minifigures in it, because now the minifigures are selling the model versus the model itself. Stickers is something where I'm gonna think about this one a little bit more. It's like there's a certain amount. The sticker limitations are put in place more for us on a development standpoint, similar to the part count average, where there's a lot of time. If we have all of our models have 20 stickers a piece, that's way more time from a graphic design standpoint than what it is if we have a limitation in place. And so the limitation's there more for the graphic design timing, if that makes sense. So if you're over 1 or 2 here or there, that's you're fine.
Just make sure it makes sense for the model and the scale, and this feels appropriate. So
perfect. Thanks very much. Before submitting, do you have any other comments to make? Now that you saw it, maybe you spotted an issue, something, red flag, something that could be tweaked.
No, I mean, the things we talked about, right? And then as we've talked about with other designers, just highlight, like, obviously you have a lot of features built into the model, so make sure that you highlight them, right? And I don't know, this is something too, we talk about, like the main image. The main image shouldn't be too busy, right? Like it should have some idea of like there's some playability or functionality with this model, but it shouldn't be like there's so much on it that it's extremely distracting.
Yeah, there's
right?
a balance,
because then it just gets confusing. But yeah, no, I think just highlight it.
I think the big challenge with the spaceship is just getting the votes. Like most of us in the office would love to do models like this. It's just getting the attention on it and getting the votes for it. So
and maybe like the color of this model is going to be what catches the eye. So backgrounds might become more important, right? In the sense of how do you get it? And this is why we talk about rendering with a transparent background. So you can try different colors, different backgrounds. Like obviously with space, you think like, oh, we'll just put black with stars on it. And it's like, that might make your model too dark, and it's really hard to see the details, right? So it might seem like a no-brainer, but it actually is hurting you in a sense. So that's where you can play around with different colors, and then that can give you a different direction to go with, so that if the spaceship pops off the screen in the sense of like, whoa, that looks really cool. Now I want to go look at the detail, rather than like, oh yeah, it's just a spaceship, and then you go on to the next one.
For sure, yeah. I recommend with studio renders too, if you have the ability to punch the contrast up a little bit, they tend to get washed out a little bit. So if you boost the colors a little bit, keep it realistic, but doing a little bit of Photoshop goes a long way to just boost an image and get attention. So put in the time to make it look cool.
These were my questions, and thank you very much for all the feedback, the comments, and the time that you put in all this.
Absolutely. Great talking to you again.
Very cool.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have Matthias.
Hello. Hi, Alex. Hi, Don.
Hello.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
All right. So you had a question about some of the rules?
Yeah. The first thing I want to talk to you guys about
look at
is
this.
minifigure part usage. I'm designing a chessboard, as you can see. And I have a theme that's like elves versus dwarfs. And I'm using 5 complete minifigures. I'm using 2 knights for each side and the elven king. But I use a lot of helmets, I use a lot of beards, I use a lot of swords, and I read the FAQs, I read the guidelines, I read a lot of stuff. I just want to make sure that I'm interpreting things correctly and that I'm not, breaking any rules here by using, I'm using neutral faces, neutral heads, and the first thing is like, is this eligible, right?
Yeah, to me, just looking at it right away, I don't see anything that we'd be like, oh my God, that's a major issue, right? So, yeah, the challenging things to think about, or that we will think about from a minifigure standpoint, are we using torsos correctly? Are we using legs correctly? Torsos and legs should be used together. There are some ways where you can think of. There were some sets in the past where you can use a shirt or a torso as like shirts on a clothes rack or something like that. There's some very niche use cases for things like that. But if you were putting a torso onto standard studs, well, then we got to start thinking about how that's being used. But as is, and what it looks like right now,
all torsos and all legs are only used in the full minifigures.
Yep.
But I do have, for example, if you look at the Elven Bishop, I did a little. I'm sorry, guys. This is my first ever design, so the names of pieces and techniques I may be a little.
No, you're good.
In here, but the head on the Elven Bishop is on a pin, and it's like I built it physically, and it stuck together well. I just it's just about rules.
The Technic pin. Oh yeah, no, that's totally fine. Yeah.
Totally cool.
I was thinking about the Technic pin and kind of like a Technic snap pin, and then that being used vertically up into the head, and that would be a problem because obviously the pin would
it falls off
to a relaxed status or a state. But yeah, no, as you have it now, that's totally fine.
Yeah, it can go on a
side. And maybe this is as helpful to be clarifying is that heads and unprinted heads are totally fine. If you're also going the classic space route where you're using the classic smile, that's totally fine to have multiple copies of. Same with skeleton heads. It's more of, we have this, we're using detailed yellow minifigure heads and they have various versions of, we're using the same one of that. It's like, well, we have different versions to use of that, right? Using the classic smiley faces is a design choice, right? Using an unprinted head is a design choice. So you can have multiple of those in a model. And then, the wigs and all those kind of stuff, that's totally fine. Like there's very clearly a design choice made with this and it makes sense, right? They're not pedestrians in a city model, for example.
It's part of the novelty of this set. So,
It is a huge relief to hear that because I tried to make the heads and helmets and beards with regular parts and they look terrible. So
no. As is, it's totally fine. I think, and like I mentioned, it's typically torsos and legs where any real issues come about with using elements in non-specific or non-normal ways. In a sense.
Thanks. Cool. So the second question here is about functionality of the board, and I would like to get your feedback here on a technical design level, but also on a knowledge of your target audience, if possible, because I'm trying to make a board that closes. And you can see there are some brackets on the sides, and when you take away, the board fits together like this, and when you fold it, it's supposed to close. And I'm trying to make this like locking mechanism on the back, and 3 2x4 tiles with stickers for the edges.
Okay.
I'm not completely sure that this will close properly, and I've tried a lot of things with hinges and it just doesn't work. And if you guys have any insight on how to make it close properly, that would be amazing for me. So what I do right now is that I take a 2x4 tile and I stick it in studio on these brackets outside. Then on studio, obviously it closes well. But when I go to the back of the board, I use the same pins and holes that stick the board together when open. And I try to, like, I found a way to use a pin and a technical brick with holes in it, and it kind of sticks together in Studio. And I'm unfortunately, I don't have the pieces to build this physically exactly as this. If you guys have any insight on how to close it, that would be amazing. You know, if or maybe this is something that if things go well, maybe the professional Lego designer.
I would lean that way. Yeah. It's, again, this is one of those things where it's like, you know, you can try to think through this, and you're going to spend 8 hours trying to figure out how to do it. And, or we can, you know, if you do go forward as a finalist, there's 6 people thinking about how do we do this, and it takes us 30 minutes, right? It's because we're bouncing ideas off of each other. So I wouldn't, from a sellability standpoint of you selling this model to the fan community and seeing it, if you're showing it closes up, then how that closes up is probably not as important at this stage, if that makes sense. And that's something that should then be worked on. And I mean, outside of there being like, whoa, that's a really, really cool way of doing it, I don't know how, you know, what would be such a cool way to do it that it would, you know, influence voting. As long as it closes up and you show it closes up, then I think that's the important feature, right?
I'm making sure that all the pieces fit inside, and then if it closes it up, it's better to store. And then the last question that I have is actually, if you zoom out, you see there's another version of the board on the side. And you see, I'm trying to tell a story here. It's the Battle for Moonvein Mountain, which is like this mountain that has parts of crystals in it, and they give power to both factions. And I'm trying to tell a story with the model. This is a draft. I made this real quick here, but I want to get your feeling about, okay, so what you think appeals more to the target audience? Something that looks a little better, which in my opinion is the case of the other board, or something that tells a story? So in a little bit more context, the other board has 1,600 pieces, give or take. This one has 1,400, but to make it really cool, I guess I would need about 2,000 to, you know, make it a mountain and tell the story itself. I would like your insight into like what path is better, considering that the last few days here I'm going to use to improve the board.
It really depends, because I think the 1,400-ish range is just a great place to be in naturally, because of part count kind of bands that exist. It's almost more of, to me, I don't know that the game board is going to make as much of a selling point than the figures do and the pieces do. I don't know. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, but
yeah, it really depends. Yeah, you could go either way with it. Something that folds closed or something that looks cool. I don't know. I wonder if there's a way you can kind of combine the two somehow, maybe. Make something that's unique.
I'm trying to make it. I'm building a bigger version. I didn't send it to you guys yet. It's just a draft, but I'm trying to make a bigger mountain. It doesn't fold. It's a little bit worse for storage, but I have like drawers in it where you can fit the pieces. And it's surprised, you know, because I heard your webinar, Alex, and I saw like, hey, okay, so 1,400 is a good range. So I'm aiming for that. I'm not quite sure, though, that I can make it like bigger, better within this part range. And I don't know if people would buy a $200 Lego chess set, you know, so.
Yeah, that is the fact.
And that's an important thing to consider, right? And yeah, so I guess, is the functionality, like you might go through it and look and say, okay, well, I can close it up and it's 1,700 parts, or I can leave it flat as a static chessboard and it will be $140 or whatever, right? And if we think about it from a financial standpoint, is it worth $30 to have it close up? And then what does the presentation of it being closed up look like compared to what it looks like when it's all set up, right? Like thinking about nice chessboards, usually everything stays out because like seeing the pieces themselves is really cool, right? Obviously there are travel sets that exist, and then there's like the really nice display set that you have at home.
Yeah.
So
yes, maybe the system with drawers is, that's worth looking into for sure.
But again, like even if you have a really nice display, like do you want to put the parts? Do you want to put the pieces away? Like
it just looks cool.
If the pieces are really cool looking, then I feel like you would want them on display rather than not. But again, as somebody that is more ingrained in the chess community, I would say, you know, that's kind of for you to make that decision on.
Sure. Well, guys, thank you very much. I guess I still have 2 minutes, and if you have anything that pops out and you like this could improve, I would really, really appreciate your feedback here in general, because, you know, I'm from a Brazilian guy's standpoint, buying all the pieces on BrickLink to put this together is going to be an investment. So I want to just, you know, buy the best possible set.
Yeah, no, I think you've got it. Where you want to be, like it's like if you've got the pieces where you, I mean the pieces in the sense the chess pieces, not the pieces itself, right? If you've got them where you want it to be, like that's going to be, I think that will be what sells the set, right? That everyone looks at it and says, wow, I instantly can recognize that this is elven iconography, this is dwarven iconography, and I love the parts that are used, or the novel ways that you use the elements to create the characters, right? I think looking at them like the, you know, the weapons that are being used on the elven side are very elven, right? And then you can look at the other side and you're like, yeah, that's dwarven. That makes sense, right? So if your focus is there, like I don't know, is there any of is the hammer available? Not the like those are axes, like Thor's hammer. What's Thor's hammer? Mjolnir or something? Mjolnir?
It's a palette, is it? I had the filter on, I think. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, okay. So, you know, like things like that, it's like, okay, obviously you have axes and other things already in use there. But, you know, when I think of dwarves, I think of, you know, Mjolnir and some of those things. So, oh yeah, you already have one in there. Isn't there? Right there?
Oh, right there.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, just think about some of those things. And it's cool that like the pawns are different, right? That they are still very much pawns, but they have they're not the exact same thing, copy and paste, because from a build standpoint, building 8 of them would not be, you know, it's repetitive, right? There's different
tedious, right?
That's interesting. The size of them is what dictates that it's a pawn, right? So
yeah, I think the selling point is definitely in the chess pieces themselves. So what you do with the board is up to you. But yeah, there's a lot of potential in this, so that's cool.
Thank you very much, Alex. And
thank you.
It was great to talk to you. Thanks for organizing this. Have a great year, guys.
Yeah.
Hey, Alex, how's it going?
Hey, hello, Josh. How you doing?
Nice to see you again.
Yes. All right.
Which one? Was it down?
So what we want to go through now. So we've got another tower here that we're going to go through, and then
what am I doing?
We don't want to show it publicly, right?
Yeah, it's not a huge deal if it works better for you guys.
Hey,
this one, so you can see the structure of it a little bit better.
Yeah, the structure is fine, right? So is this what we want to talk through?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my question was about stability on this model. So of course there's a pretty tall tower within this model. I have it connected essentially in 4 connection points, 2 on the front, 2 on the back, as you can see. My Technic knowledge is fairly limited, and I didn't have the parts to test it, so I wanted some additional thoughts on stability for the model, if that would be a reasonable support structure. I know it's probably not perfect, but you know, I'm well familiar that'll be refined if it happens to be chosen. So my thought was, I just want to make sure it's not an issue that would prevent it from becoming a finalist potentially.
So initially, this side would be fine. I think it's the opposite side that I think would have more of a challenge,
right?
Because of The bar connection, yeah, it's just not as strong. And so what would end up happening is one side of your model is locked in place and the other side is going to pull away, right? Because the bars can be pulled vertically. There's nothing holding them down. So in a sense, if you were going to go this route, the way you would have to take those bars that are kind of horizontal, or you would have to find a way to, what's the stud connection that is horizontal? Is it a, it looks like a 1x4 Technic brick below?
1x4, oh.
It's a 1x4 Technic brick. Oh, they're 1x2s.
1x2s.
Yeah. Oh, they're 1x2s because they're 4s. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, or because of it's
has a 2 holes.
1x4 Technic brick would only have 3 pinholes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. So what ends up happening here, though, is that the plate could technically shear off because obviously you're going to have a lot of leverage the taller you go. And so then how do you make sure that that bar it prevents that? Now, you're smart here because you're using a bar into an open stud on the Technic brick, and then you're using the 1x4 plate, the 1x4 rounded plate that has a through hole on the ends. And so
there's a couple levels of that on each side,
right? So then, to me, I'm curious to hear what your opinion is after this. I would say I would find a different method than the attaching it to the clips, because if this was a mock, this totally works, right? But from a repeatability standpoint, I would have concern over, grabbing the tower and it falling over. So you have to find a way to build those bars into a different connection point. So is it an axle hole? Is it a D snot or some other kind of snot brick that is at the right height that you can then build elevation or brickwork around it and to hold that down? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So just to make sure I'm understanding, the issue is the bar would pull up potentially because there's nothing above it.
Yeah. The weight of this.
So if you get something to sort of lock it in place above a little bit, that'll solve
it.
My suggestion would be since you've got one edge firm here and then the other edge is kind of the tricky connection, I wonder if there's a way that you can use axles maybe between the two and then connect it through the center core somehow to the base as well.
That's
smart. So rather than getting all the variance on one side, you split the variance on both sides and then center it on an axle somehow, and then lock it down through the core. But again, it's not a deal breaker. This is the kind of thing we can kind of work with as well if it gets chosen. But
right. So I'll definitely mess with this, but obviously we're starting to get close to submission time. Is it critical if I can't find a solution before then? Can I just submit as is and I'll keep messing?
I'd have to see the.
Yeah, it would be something to keep tinkering with in I guess the best case scenario, right, as being selected again. But also maybe because I think you're onto a great idea there where you've got it locked down on one side, but could the rest of the second connection point actually be axles? And because axles can be on a sliding.
Maybe you can slide them through and unlock them on both sides of that wall or something like that.
Yeah. As long as you can lock some axles down and then let it slide sort of on the axles.
Sure.
Potentially.
Yeah, there's a lot of experimentation with one. Of course, with the hexagonal shape, it just goes off grid. So you have to find some connection to lock it down, at least on both sides somewhere, right? So this was the best solution I come up with so far, but so you can do better than that.
No, it's all part of learning. And I don't know if Lego's done anything like this, if there's any other sets maybe, but
nothing that I've seen, but there's a lot of sets out there. It's quite possible.
No, very cool though.
Did you have any? I know you guys probably saw the full model. Is there anything else you have feedback on, or anything else you want to mention?
No, you're in a good place. I think it's this. This is just needs to have, look at that connection point, and then I think as long as you take in some of the other feedback that we had earlier today to some of the other designers, as well as story and features are going to be, especially when you're operating in this space, how you stand out, because it is so competitive, right? How can you, what can you do to kind of add that next little thing? Because like a really good build is going to get you to the table. Then you need to stand up from that table too. So
and the details and storytelling and the creative fun side of it as well. So
yeah, appreciate that. I did intend for it to be more of a fantasy submissions too instead of medieval, which is you'll see in some of a lot more color and different types of like vegetation and storytelling elements and other minifigures, of course. So that should help differentiate it a little bit too. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with it.
Very cool. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you guys very much.
Oh, thank you. Good seeing you again.
Yeah, you too. Have a good one.
All right, I'll go to the next. Hello, how's it going today?
Hey, Dallin and Alex, it's nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you as well too. Did you go to Jonathan?
Yes.
All right, nice to meet you. All right, so you had some questions around reusing multiple elements in your mocks, or
yeah. So I
this
have
was the train question. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I know.
I have two train models that I want to show you, and I guess I have a couple, particularly the coaches, that I thought I might use in multiple uploads for the submissions. And so there's two different color liveries for the coaches. The first question was whether or not you can reuse like the train station in multiple uploads, or again, different liveries for the same design on a coach.
Yeah, so what we would ask is, and this has kind of been done in the past in, I think it was Thomas Roeder did this with Brick Railroad Locomotive, and there are other train designers who have done similar things in a sense, and that is, we just ask that there is a little bit of a difference in a sense of part count, types of model, etc. So for example, if you submitted just the observation car here, if your submission was just the observation car and then you did a recolor of it, then we would say, okay, that's not enough, right? Or if you did a winter version of a building and then you did the summer version, it's the same building, right? It's just a different color scheme in a sense, even though one's summer and winter. So what we would say is, like, if you submitted these two models as individuals, I would say it's probably fine, right? Because they're completely different trains in a sense. And I understand that they have different locomotive, or kind of the locomotive in the front is the only difference. So what I would say is, in one, figure out which one has a train station and which one doesn't, and that further differentiates it. But trying to find just enough of a, maybe there's one where, like, for example, we've seen it where the locomotive itself is just submitted and then the full train is submitted, and then that does kind of help you out in a from a piece count standpoint, because that's, for example, that's how the Brick Railroad Locomotive was selected, was, maybe the A and the B unit was too many parts, but the A unit was enough, right?
Okay,
that's the part count that we needed. And so then it was like, okay, and it's, both of them are highly voted. We can do one or the other. Well, whoops, it fits. That one fits for the park count standpoint. So for trains, it's kind of like a little hidden kind of,
gives
like,
you more slots of piece count to fit into. But you have to make sure you get the votes on all of them.
Yeah,
that's something other themes could potentially do within
modular-ish.
Yeah, that's fantastic. This is the first time I've been preparing to submit a project, and so I'm very excited. So knowing that I can split the model up, particularly the two models here were going to be separate submissions, but to know that I could even just do the locomotives and then the coaches as kind of separate, or the whole train versus just the locomotive.
Okay, and then you had a question about the stability of the dome.
Yeah, so on the observation cart and the Vista Dome particularly, I have little stud connection. It's two studs. You can open it up. Just particularly on the windows, I have it kind of sliding in, and then where the train logo on the 2x4 tile piece, that's actually kind of holding its place. So if you take off the glass panels, you can see that I have only kind of 2 studs holding one part, and it slides in, and then those brackets kind of hold it in place. And I was wondering if that, you'll kind of see it. There's a curvature tile piece on that side, but if towards the back of the caboose, the stud connection should be there.
Oh,
If
okay.
you take
Yeah,
off that one glass panel.
It's on that side. It's going to be a
Yeah.
stud.
Oh, okay.
It's, yeah, if you flip the design the other way, 45 degrees, you'll see there. Yeah, there they are.
Generally,
Okay,
it should be fine. And you know, something like this too that you could do, and I can't remember now. I'd have to, you know, if Dallin goes backwards a little bit too, is there was it a 2x4 tile on the side?
Yeah,
well?
so there's a bracket, and it's holding. Yeah, it doesn't. If I guess if you flip the coach upside down, it might fall or a little bit wiggle, but
you flip a lot of Lego sets upside down, they're falling apart. So.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
no connection at this side. It's just the 2 studs there.
Yeah. No, I would say that's totally fine. You're using, I mean, I can think of many sets where gravity alone is what keeps something in place. So that's fine. I think there's a really interesting technique that's used on the privateer frigate Fortuna, where there's a space that a panel or a 1x2 panel drops down into, and the only thing holding it in place is
cool.
that it's not friction, but
it can't go anywhere.
It's a space where it can't go anywhere, but it caps something off, and it's a really novel usage of it. And I don't know that it's technically something that would be done in the Lego portfolio, but for us, for BrickLink, it works totally fine. And it's a really cool part usage of doing something. So yeah, I think that's totally fine the way that you've got it set up. And it was really smart to have the bracket there. So it keeps it from the side to side is what I would be worried about more, right? Because thinking about if this was ever to be motorized, that would be where you would have more of an issue, right? Not it popping off vertically. So
exactly.
The two, I think you're going in the right direction in the sense of if you had 4 studs, it might be too strong and it's too hard to remove. And then it actually starts pulling the model apart when you try to take the top off, right?
Yep.
There's a fine balance there. So cool.
Yeah, I'm really trying to go for kind of a detailed 6-wide train. Really, I feel like since the Emerald Knight, we haven't had something. And so it's been fun to put together. And I was just wondering, I know through Alex, through a couple of the webinars and a couple of podcasts you've been on, the train community is kind of been, similar as we were talking about space earlier, just like the copyright and the what you can do. But just wondering if you have any overall thoughts of the model or any good advice on for train enthusiasts and when designing for these series.
From a copyright standpoint and trademark, it depends. I think we're going to have some guidelines that come out soon around that because we want to just try to help that out because it is confusing. Because sometimes then people will say, well, how did like Brick Railroad locomotive, for example, how did that go forward? And it's because the U.S. U.S. IP laws around trademarks and patents are different than they are in other parts of the world. So, for example, something in Europe might be handled completely different, or in the U.S. too, especially with trains. Is one of the things that we've come to find is that a lot of manufacturers of trains don't patent the visuals of the train, right? Because they don't care about the visuals of the train. It's the utility. How is the train used? How is the train generate power, et cetera? And that's where the patents are. They're not, but we think of automotive and automotive, it's the outer design of the vehicle that is protected and for many things. And so we just generally just assume that's how train is too. And that's not always the case. So train is a very weird and convoluted intellectual property area. But yeah, so otherwise, no, I think you're doing a great job with that in the sense of like it's cohesive, it's 6 wide, it's filling a void in the sense where you say it's the only time since Orient Express there's been something 6 wide, or maybe you see things are 8 wide. Those get prohibitively large from a part count standpoint, right? So you're in that space. It's just the things that I always think about are like, what does the train community want to see from something, and then just make sure that those are included. And then always too, once if something gets selected, then that's where we get to have some real fun, because we can come in and help provide some ideas of like, hey, have you thought about this? And then you can add some things to our design. We'll see in May. I think it's May. Yeah, May, when we reveal the final railroad locomotive. It's like, you'll see there's some things that we do on the back end to be like, okay, this is what the train communities, they're going to assume we have this, so we have to do this from the very get-go. But at the early stage like this, it's that's not as important, right? Because it's more internal stuff that you don't see. So
yes, yeah, I was really trying to take to heart the, as you've been saying over other videos, just the 1500 part. I know train is going to have larger pieces, particularly the track, but I tried to limit that. I'm just like, most train enthusiasts are going to have their setups already, and so just the base amount of track and pieces to display the model if you desire it, or keep it again around that 1500 part count, because there's maybe less competition in that area.
Yep. I agree.
Very cool.
Good. Any questions? Any other things?
I guess just looking ahead, one of the questions I had for future series is, let's say something's not selected. How do you go about turning the Series 10 palette into a Series 11 palette and making sure you have the pieces still carrying over, all that type of thing?
That was a great question. So the 9, 10, and 11 from a palette standpoint should be relatively the same, because they are all within the same manufacturing year. They'll be 2027 manufacturing. And then over the summer, so it would be Series 12 would be the next time there would be a significant palette change, in the sense where we're moving to production year 2028. So for 10 and 11, you're good. You're basically the same. The only thing that'll be different with Series 11 is the addition of elements that launch in the interim. So would be parts from February, March, April, and May. And yeah, basically. So it actually gets a little bit easier, because the Series 11 palette will be the best palette of that year, if that makes sense. So that's why I always say the summer series is always the hardest, because you have the smallest palette and there's the most turmoil from from series to series. So if you submitted something, you gotta do a lot of work to kind of fix it to the new palette. And then also you have the least amount of elements, because it's, most of the elements for the year haven't launched yet, right? So you see January being a huge launch month, March being a big one. So that's when there's a lot more parts that come up there. So
okay.
Cool.
Well, thank you both for having me.
And then too, you can when you request feedback, and we'll give you, all fan designers can request feedback once we announce finalists, and then we can provide you some additional tailored feedback on your final model. And then you can use those too. You can either choose to resubmit as is, because you can resubmit as is twice, or you can resubmit an additional time, I should say. And then after that, we just ask that you take some of the feedback that we're providing, or maybe that you're getting from the community and comments, or et cetera. And then you're kind of showing that you're working on the model. We don't want you to have to abandon models. We want you to keep working on them if it's something you're passionate about. Cool.
Well, great. Thank you again. I hope you all have a great day.
It's great chatting with you.
Thank you.
All right, going next.
Hello.
Hello, how's it going? Good to see you again.
Good to see you again.
All right. So many people we've met at conventions. This is great. That's the best part about going to conventions. We get to meet all of our fan designers in person, and then also virtually.
Sorry, I gotta restart.
I know he's having to bring it up, but this was the model.
Yes. So is it a Calliope? Is this a
Calliope? Yep.
Is that a specific? I don't know. I'm going to say a noun that's used to describe a cart of some type, or what is that? What does this mean?
It's specifically for the music, basically the steam pipe organ that's on here. It's carrying that the circus community uses that term rather than the Greek goddess like Calliope.
Okay. Interesting.
It's one of those things my dad brings up and harps on me every time.
I hadn't run across it before, so I was curious what was behind that.
No, like this is growing up. I think I spent, I want to say 8 or 9 summers playing for Circus band
really?
in town, because like they put on a 200 youth performers or over from ages like 6 to 21. I'll put on a full-on 3-ring circus every summer in Peru, Indiana.
Wow.
And they're all pipe organs too?
No, like the parade will have like 3 pipe organs.
Wow.
Yeah, this is cool.
And this is based off of one at the Circus Hall of Fame near there.
I love this tile.
That's
here
pretty
with
cool. Yeah.
Sticker city or Circus City.
Yeah. So as long as everything's inspired in a sense and it's not direct copies, then yeah, totally good.
Yeah, I mean, even if it was, I think it's inspired off of one based from 1909.
Yeah. 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 It's the time has passed on that. So yeah, we're good. So what did you want to talk through today?
It's basically the smaller model. It's trying to get that visibility and things to change. I noticed like the popcorn wagon like has the ground feature around it, things like that. Getting things to pop. Like I tried to reduce this thing to be as small as possible, and it's still a pretty hefty machine, even bigger than most other things to fit that piano in there. But at the same time, the wagons are like, you know, I want to say half semi trucks basically.
Yeah. Are you thinking about having a base with it, or is that
I debated like just keeping the part count low, because I want to say what is it, around 500 pieces, 400?
Yep.
And keeping that low just to be on that smaller scale, but then at the same time, I don't know, like it's kind of like that balancing act. Keeping it simple but keeping it cool.
Yeah, so I would say the strategy at that level, or at least my opinion on it, is the difference between 400 and 600 parts is not going to be it's not going to make much of a difference in a sense. It's going to be what makes the voting, or what's going to influence voting more, right? I don't think someone saying, oh, this is 400 parts or this is 600 parts is going to make a big difference, right? And or even if you got up in a 650 range. And also it's not going to heavily influence voting so much, because it would be, or I shouldn't say voting, selection side of it, because if it's the highest voted small set, then it's almost always going to be included in, especially if it doesn't conflict with the theme of the highest voted set. So there, I wouldn't worry about that too much. It's how do you present your model in the best light. So for example, some models where it's like a vehicle, it doesn't need a base, right? Yeah. But if you're trying to show a scene where it's like this is part of a circuit or a part of a parade or something like that, I'm thinking about like the city road plates or the 16 by 16 road modified plates. I guess they're technically, there it was right there. You see it?
Yep.
Too much typing. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, trying too hard.
You know, like something like this where you're adding, you know, if you had multiple of these, it's not adding a ton of parts, but it is adding something to the base of how you're displaying it. And if you had like, you know, fans or something on the side, I don't know how the part count works, or you know, like the other people marching in the parade with them. Those are, you know, maybe those are things that you could think about in a sense by an efficient way of doing it, and then that shows a scene, right?
The other thing I was thinking about was with the new modular that got announced is a bandwagon.
Yeah.
I think there's a good little spot back here too. You can add something.
Yeah.
Fun little.
I was going to say, you were playing around with it. The top pops off. You can actually hide that entire top.
Oh, cool. Perfect. Yeah. Thank you.
But yeah, no, I was just trying to, I don't know. It's that whole, like, you get people going through, you watch the review videos and people just pass over it and you're like, okay, what do I need to do to stand out, sort of thing.
Yeah. No, I think you're on a good direction here. It's just how do you complete the story, right?
Yep.
And this is what I will say for anyone that's doing anything that is kind of minifigure focused, right? Is how do you make the minifigures feel alive in the scene? We see this with a lot of larger buildings too. Is it'll be a beautifully ornate, detailed building, and there's no minifigures on the outside, and the sidewalk's empty. And it's like, well, this is great, but you know, if you look at one of the things that the professional Lego photos do is in production photos for, you know, modulars and other sets, is that they're telling a story, right? Or there's people on the sidewalk and they align with what the story of the model is. Or, you know, if you look at Lego City sets and you see, I'm thinking about some of the newer ones,
cops and robbers.
Like, yeah, there's something going on that makes it feel alive, right? It's not just like, here's the car. It's the car in action, right?
I was trying to get like a clown face going with the one guy, because that's another figure. Doc Sprock was a clown conductor. That sort of thing. But we don't have any mini figureheads in BDP available for that.
Yeah. But you know, that's something where it's like, all right, we got to think about. Is there? Could you do? I don't know. Is there white head? Isn't the? Are you saying there's nothing for a clown?
I think the closest you have is the vampire lady.
So I was thinking the vampire lady, but then also the wasn't there like a cotton candy wig that was from? I don't know if it's in the palette or not, but it was.
Yeah, it's the beehive.
Oh, do we have that one?
What hair piece is it? I'm thinking
it's not a hair piece. It's a minifigure accessory, I think.
Oh, is it?
No, there's a hair piece that the one that I'm thinking about. You might be looking at me thinking of something different. There is a hair piece that it's translucent, purple and pink. And so I was thinking about from like a
Dreams wig or something.
Yeah, it's Dreams. It's definitely Dreams.
Okay, no, that would work for a clown. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's the Dreams. I can't remember what her name is, but yeah,
that could be. You know, so I'm thinking there's like other ways that you could potentially. The torso is a whole nother challenge, but or do you
go to the colors probably, and while you're in here.
Oh yeah, you could do it based on the colors. Yeah.
Oh, I can't type today.
I just type hair and go to colors on the right or the left. I mean.
Oh yeah, that works. Yeah.
I've done this.
There's a purple trans hair or satin.
All the way down, I think.
Yeah, we'll go down to.
Yep.
Yeah, there's some of the Dreams ones.
I don't think it's in the palette anymore.
It might not be. Yeah, it might not be in the palette anymore. There was.
Maybe it'll come out this afternoon because they announced the new Dream sets.
Yeah. So it should be. Yeah, we haven't restarted our studio because we've been streaming, but there should be the new parts for the palette should be live right now in production. So
BDP Series 10 palette.
But yeah, you got to restart in order to
get the January parts in, because
get the January parts.
Didn't have. I don't know. There was that whole thing with Dreams going on, but yeah. No, it was between the band, like expanding it out, adding a band one. I was trying to do 2 hemispheres, and I couldn't get the sun, earth, and moon, sun and earth to work, because it's on the left and right side, and it's up and down split.
Yeah, it's tricky.
But yeah, I think there might be some creative ways to pull it together. But yeah, I would just think about the scene and how can you show a lively nature to it, because I think with the smaller models, it is interesting with smaller models. I feel like sometimes they're a little bit more static in the sense that you think of like Popcorn Wagon. Popcorn Wagon had a cool like the popcorn
little thing you could twist.
Off-road adventure is a pretty static model.
Yeah, there's a little vehicle.
Same with camping adventure.
Maybe I can get those steam pieces to move
to more static, but
yeah,
the more you can kind of so don't be afraid of that in a sense.
Yep.
Because historically it's been successful. But then also too is like but all of those have a scene, right? And I think that's probably the key takeaway there is that they have scenes. So establishing a scene is very important.
And it seems like there's 3 people here that work with with the wagon, but there's not really anybody observing or spectating.
Well, that's more of part count limitation.
That is always.
Or sorry, the minifigure limitation.
Last series, I submitted this. It was a limit of 2, so it's like you have a piano player and your driver, and that made the most sense. And then now this part count, it got up to 3.
No. Yeah, and that's something we're trying to think about too. Is how do we have a normal amount of minifigures where the minifigures aren't influencing the model, but they help.
Yeah. I stepped back from that.
They help the design of the model.
That town hall with the 4,000 piece, rot house. I was just like, people aren't going to want to spend that $400 on it.
No. So,
very cool. Good model. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah.
Hey, great chatting with you, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yep. See you at Brickwill.
Yeah. All right. The next one.
Which one are we on?
Let's see.
What number are we on? 9? No, 10.
10. There we go.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, it's the Danish dragon. Uh-oh. Go watch out.
Oh, this is cool.
Thank you guys for being here. I like your shirt, by the way. Just wanted to say classic space.
Oh, thank you. This was a gift from Marcos, who is the designer of Art Factory. And
wow.
He gave me that shirt at Scareback last year. So it's a great, I love it. It's a wonderful shirt. It's Dallin, actually, you worked on.
I did, yeah. I've got one of those
Art
too at home.
Factory.
I should have wore it today. But
Yeah, we could have
I'm
matched.
not in BrickLink, so yeah.
Yeah, I love what he did with the paintings. You could store extra paintings. It was very creative in his art building. So you have to forgive me. I think I should have submitted a little bit more model to talk about here today. I was trying to keep it more reserved.
Great.
But we'll just go to the questions right away. So what I'm doing is, if you're familiar with Lego Town Arctic in 2000, sort of a basic, smiley face minifigures, bright colors, basic colors, but a very popping design. So there'll be actually a whole Arctic convoy, treaded vehicles and such. As you can imagine, though, part of the backbone of painting something in the Arctic is Arctic dogs and sleds. So at least for this one, I wanted to ask, I've sort of made a dog sled here as a sample. It's probably one of the smaller builds I'll have. Is this use appropriate?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and so I think this does come up every once in a while. So it's a great question. We do get questions around animal use and cruelty and things like that, because it is called out in the guidelines. And as long as you're using animals in a sense that they're, we try to avoid, like, don't show a tiger in a cage in a zoo or something like that. They're trying to get more away from that. It's domesticated animals that are being used in their normal service is totally fine, right? So obviously using dogs in a dog sled is a real world example and something that's done quite frequently and done in a humane way. Same with horses and goats and cows and all the other things, right? So as long as you're showing things in their native environment or a way that they're used normally, then we're totally fine there. So it's almost one of those things where that rules created much more confusion than it's actually helped. And in a sense, it's kind of like we can't use animals that have printed eyes to be depicted as food in a sense. So the only case that this ever really happened was like the lobster had printed eyes, so you couldn't put it on a plate like it was cooked, if that makes sense. It has eyes, it's still alive. But the crab, for example, doesn't have printed eyes, so it's fine to use, or the fish. But yeah, so I think you're totally fine there.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's like a pepperoni pizza without the pepperoni. So I said, I better ask to make sure we can do dog sleds in the Arctic. Be a real letdown.
It seems fine.
Yeah. No, all good there.
Wonderful. So one of the more challenging questions, question number 2, I was going to do like a big map room in one of the Arctic vehicles where our figures can plan out, hey, we're going to the river, this ice cave, these trees, what have you. But I wanted to do a fairly large sticker. I know there's an 8x16 tile, which is quite large. But where are you guys out on if I said I wanted to do 2 or 3 maps that you could swap out based on the mission or the scenario. If you recall, actually, the Agents truck from the original Agents line had a wonderful projector that did a similar idea. What are our sticker limits on doing that? Could I do 2 or 3 maps? Is that of that size?
Yeah, that's totally fine. Yeah, I mean, and if anything, I think about it like Game Boy did it, right?
Oh, yeah.
The Nintendo Game Boy kind of did
multiple
it in a
big
sense.
stickers. Yeah.
In that, I mean, those use lenticular screens. There's multiple versions of them, right? There's multiple versions of the game cartridge. We do it on a lot of our sets. So, for example, the Privateer Frigate Fortuna, we included, I think there's 20. I think I was reading some of the comments. It was really, really interesting reading the comments, because one of those things where you're too close to the sun to see how it's perceived, in the sense of like, there's 24 stickers in the model, and people are like, why are there 24 stickers in this thing? And it's like, well, because we included all the extra flags, and every set of flags has 6 stickers in it. So there's 18 stickers that are just dedicated to alternate flags, right? But they're not actually on the model. And then we did different nameplates. So, you know, if you wanted to do one or the other, you could have different nameplates. So that's 20 stickers just for alternates, essentially. So it's totally possible, and it's something that we do. I mean, we did it in Siege Encampment as well, where we included alternate stickers in the tiles and flags needed to switch factions, right? So it's a great play feature in the sense of, if you're having different maps and you can swap them in and out, like that's pretty cool.
Thank you. Yeah, it's exactly the intent. I just wanted to explore without building an entire landscape and using all the parts for that. Let's explore that in mindset with one piece, and then let the storytelling tell the rest here. So, and as you can see, we're using the classic Lego smiley face. And just the question on that one, I don't think I've seen too much of the classic Lego aesthetic in the BrickLink designer program. Do you really think, I mean, I love it, and I think some folks will, but what's your take? Do you think people would really enjoy a classic, simpler time aesthetic?
I think it depends. It's really up to I guess the fans, in a sense. I'm curious how people would receive it. Obviously, when it's something like Classic Spaceman, it's almost going to be a requirement that you use.
Yeah.
Like if we're using classic space torsos, I don't know that we would let you use.
I don't know that you could use like
the modern faces with it, right? We would always require the classic faces. So I don't see that as a detriment, right? Like and it could be something as simple as, you know, if it is that much of a detriment, like then the voting is going to say that, and then the next time you submit it, just change it out, right? If it is, I think if you're trying to go for something that is era specific, it makes total sense, right? You're designing something to be like the 90s Arctic sets that were of that era. Then it would make sense, right? If you were doing this in a modern city layout, then it'd be like, well, that's kind of weird, right? But and just as a reminder, the ADP sets and some of the 2021 invitational sets used classic heads. So, for example, like 8 studs, they're using plain red and blue torsos and classic faces.
Wow.
So it's not like, you know, in some sets the minifigures are you know, you're depicting a specific era, right? So that's totally fine.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense with your style to, if you're going for a specific vision, it makes sense to do it. But
great. Well, I look forward to showing you guys more. A few more questions before we head out here. So I have to ask, technically, as you know, we're in the Arctic. My goodness, tread. 3 different sizes of tread, getting the tread links to connect properly. I've come very close. And you can even see I'm not sure if that's an allowed technique, the smallest size tread around a Technic plate, or just a round plate. Do you guys have any advice on aligning and connecting the links? I say this because if I'm designing a vehicle, I probably need to know exactly the number of links it's going to take to complete that circle organically. And I'm not sure if in studio gravity and tolerance is quite depicted as much.
You're fighting an uphill battle here. Yeah, I would. This is one of those things I would say where it's, if you're able to test it in person, great. If you're not, then don't worry about it, because this is one of those minor details that we would resolve later.
Thank you. Yeah, no,
You're
I appreciate
gonna
that.
spend
Actually,
hours trying to get it perfect, and as long as it looks good in the render, that's all I would care about, right? Like,
perfect. Okay.
if I was the fan designer, I would say, like,
it's definitely the kind of thing you'd want to build physically first, and if it works physically, then anything else we can.
But I also look at it as
but
like,
even then,
if it's meant to be something like this, where it's not actually meant to rotate around, but it's meant to act as a tread and to look the part.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Right. It's not. It doesn't need to be perfect, right? Because you're going to spend hours trying to get it perfect, and then there's still no guarantee that actually works, right? You just spend a lot of time trying to get it perfect for a render.
Right.
So we would find a way to fix it if it was a problem. So
yeah, it's worth
no
time.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah, time is a part of the budget, and I want to deliver as much as I can to the fans who might actually enjoy this. So I'll try and focus where it matters. Yeah.
Time is everyone's most valuable resource.
Yeah. It sure is. Okay, so one other question. You see the fishing poles I've got on the sled over there. This is more of an open-ended. I've actually got a separate model that it's concerning fishing. I noticed string and net are banned from the program, but let me tell you, I can't make a fishing shed without some string and some net. So is there any plans in the future or any indication of ability to use that or infer or people to use those parts to complete the design?
No, I don't. There's no plans to use string or net. It's more of a production complexity issue in that sense than anything else. And the same reason we don't do fabrics or foils or things like that, because they're not manufactured by the Lego group necessarily. So there's just some additional production complexities with it. So we don't have any plans to use foils or nets or things like that. Loose string as it is, like the stuff with the molded elements on it, we can use because that's within our control.
Perfect. Okay. Well, I won't take any more time. I think you guys got me the info I needed. So I hope to, like I said, deliver quite well here in the end of January.
Great.
Awesome. Very
Thank
cool.
you. It was great chatting with you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll go on to next one. Hello.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
How's it going?
Good.
All right.
I don't know why my avatar's not showing.
All good. No, it's all right. Let's see this. What do we got here? So you said you have some castle elements, but you're aiming more for Transylvania style.
Right, because I have two like child protagonists.
Okay.
And they're modern clothing, so it's like an ancient build, but they're set in like a modern time.
Yep.
Okay.
Would that something like that be fine?
Yeah, it's definitely fine. I mean, it squarely puts you into fantasy, right? So,
right.
Yeah, I don't think there's any issues with that at all.
Do you think that's like a valid strategy instead of going for like full castle?
I don't know. Sure, strategy is a word you could use for that. It's more of like, what's the general design direction, right? Like throwing a couple kids into a medieval castle set is not. I mean, would be like trying to skirt the rules in a sense, and obviously we have to take everything with a grain of salt. Like we don't live in a black and white world. There is a lot of gray area, and so, for example, like this. You could very easily, I think of like Transylvania, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I think there's a lot of people that just assume it's a castle set, and it's like, no, this is a fantasy set because it is very clearly Dracula, but it does have some castle-like elements to it. Mm-hmm. But if we look at the minifigures are typically a tell, and they are often a tell that we use to sort between fantasy and castle. So like the fantasy sci-fi category and the castle category. If you're using classic castle iconography or like the factions, then you're almost always going to end up in castle. But there's a caveat here. If you look at like some of the iconography that's in Transylvania, it is modern torsos. They are not classic torsos in a sense, but there are some like shields and things like that are being used. And that's fine, right? Like that is a gray area. where it's, you know, to the letter of the law that we normally say, like, oh, if you're using classic castle faction stuff, then that's going to be classic castle. No, if you're using historical figure or historical type figures and castle faction stuff, then yes, I'm going to say you're in castle, right? But if you're using modern stuff, then you're fine.
I mean, that makes sense. So, and then so let's see, I forgot what else they said.
You had a question around parts of the model that feel out of place or don't fully match the overall.
Someone said they didn't like my mountain. It looks too busy, but I like the rocky look, honestly.
I think it's more of like, it's clearly looking, I love the tree. The tree.
Oh, thank you, by the way.
So good.
And,
it also pops off, by the way.
Oh, that's cool. Does it rotate it around, or
it also rotates? It's on a turntable.
Yeah, that's what this.
Okay, cool. Because that's where I look at it, and it's like that tells me much more about the story and the type of build that you're going for here. Because there's a difference between trying to be the Lego realism in a sense, and then there's like the Lego fantasy type thing where it's like, you know, that everything's much more stylized and it doesn't need to be completely accurate to what something would look like in real life, right? Like the rock work here is much larger than the building is, but you would think like the building needs to be bigger, but it's stylized, right? That's what you're going for.
Well, it's really from outside, and then when you get inside, there's a full interior.
Right. Like I wanted like a whole secret layer type thing.
Yeah. And I think that makes total sense, right? You know, if you really want to get kind of really picky on it, you could say, okay, well, maybe some of the rock work is too repetitive and it's maybe this massive gray wall. So maybe there's something you can do to break that up a little bit more. But it does make sense that it's elevated, right? And that there's kind of this tricky path that you have to follow to get to the top, right? That maybe playing that up a little bit more, and so that it's not as hidden as it can kind of appear to be right now. I don't obviously looking at a model in studio versus stylized renders when you're done with it, right, are going to look very different. But maybe that's something to consider, so that it's, you know, that initial gray wall that you see isn't just a gray wall, because if it is on display, that's, you're going to see everything's going to be mostly closed up, right? So maybe that's something to consider.
And then depending on what you do for your cover photo, maybe sprinkling some minifigures around breaks it up a little bit too. And just works for composition reasons. But
oh, then I noticed that you were looking at that play feature with the cauldron.
Yeah, that's very good.
You turn that knob, it spins the broom, so like stirs the cauldron, but it also rotates the head up there.
Yeah.
So I thought that would be like a cool feature.
Yeah. I love the bone stuff around here too.
Yeah, I also use like the bush technique as like a spinal cord.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I was curious at first what that was, and then I realized, oh, it's the white bush. Yeah.
What is?
And then so I had like a technical limitation at the house where I didn't know how to connect the roof piece because it's using a sugar grid. So then I instead made the house crooked and looks like it's falling apart instead. If you notice that.
Yeah.
I thought that was like a cool detail. Or do you think I should have just made like a normal roof?
No. I mean, it adds to it, right? In the sense that, you know, it's doing something a little bit different. I think it's totally fine.
Very cool. Yeah. No, I like that.
It's a little hard to work with sugar grids.
Yeah.
You've done very well here. Yeah, the hinges in the right spot.
But, I mean, I think it definitely adds like the dilapidated look towards it.
Definitely.
And then there's a play feature up top with like if you open the trapdoor, snakes come down. Do you think I should do like a skeleton or something? Or
no, I think that makes sense, right?
Oh, that's cool.
And as long as there's a way to reload it easily,
you could do that too.
Then yeah, I think that's totally fine. And again, it makes sense that there's snakes that drop down. A skeleton might be too big for that space to reliably drop.
You just flip that open, throw the snakes back in.
Yeah,
that works.
Yeah. And then do you have any suggestions on what I could add or remove?
To me, it's the play features are there, right? You've got all the kind of cool little things in the story,
walls and traps and everything. So.
Yeah, and so, you know, if you can convey that through renders, you're in a great place, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the only other thing is kind of that pathway to getting to the house or the haunted house on the hill is
Mm-hmm.
how do you make that stand out a little bit more in the images, and again, that'll look very different in renders than it does right now, and especially with minifigures posed around it. But maybe there's some things you can do to help break up the gray wall, essentially.
Could I make it like a brighter, like bricks or something, like like the yellow brick road in Wizard of Oz?
Yeah, you could do something like that. Yeah, I don't know if you add other colors into the. You've already kind of.
I tried sand blue a little bit.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you do that, or even in the rock work is, like there's the tree, and the tree has its it kind of has like some root like legs that you have there with it.
Yep.
Maybe there's a way to, some of the rock work is actually brown, and so it looks like it's legs coming down further through the hill.
Oh god, yeah, I could do like vines or something.
Yeah, so there's things you could do like that could help break it up. So the color of the path being slightly different, I think it's more the gray, like all of the dark bluish gray that's in there. There's maybe some ways to add more dark tan or
some more leaves and
just something to break it up, so it's not like it's very well done rock work, but also how do you do it where that rock work isn't just like a big gray wall?
Yeah,
right. Well, like I also have to consider brick count, because I don't know how much is the brick count right now.
You gotta go to model.
Do you think I should go higher for that?
2616.
No, I would leave it there. I would leave it there. Any higher, and now you're starting to approach. You pull away from the mean or the average.
I don't think this looks like this size. I mean, you would think this is like 3,000 or something just by looking at this, but
yeah, I would say lower is better. So yeah.
So I have to figure out how to like maybe take things out.
You can, but again, just being around the 2,500 is in a good place, right?
Oh, then I like a little detail to show that's kind of modern. There's like a little mail at the gate you can look at.
Yeah.
So I mean, I tried adding like next to the pumpkins.
Oh yeah.
Like some junk mail from the post office.
Yeah. It's
I tried like adding some story elements to show that there's some age, significant age to the.
You could, I mean, even something as simple as like bikes. One of the kids could have a bike.
That's good.
Right. And that automatically says this is modern.
Yeah, it's 3 pieces,
right?
4 pieces.
And they're exploring this.
I mean, this could be in some town set somewhere, like like in the middle of the woods or something. So, but, I mean, I think the tree really sells it.
Yeah, the tree, all the colors are great.
The tree's great.
I love all the functions and features are really cool.
And maybe that's partly of how the story works, right? Is that the tree is alive, and that's where kind of some of the magic is. And talking with some of the other fan designers is like, how do you bring the magic into this? And so maybe the tree has more, like if you have longer roots or things that are coming down off of it, like how does the tree become more of the model in a sense?
And then it's technically a figure by itself. So you can take it apart and display it elsewhere, and that also adds playability.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
You could even have it in one of your renders off on the side or something.
Yeah, it can still come off, but it could also have parts that are static, right?
Right. So definitely got to add more roots, I think.
Or what you could do too is that like some of the roots are static, and then there's pieces that are attached by pins or something like that, and those can move as well, right?
Okay, so like play features,
and they're it's like a part of the root is swiping at them when they're walking across the bridge right there. What are those, medium nougat tiles?
Yeah.
So you could do something like that. That adds additional play, right?
Right. So. Okay. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Because I mean, I got like a lot of play features already. I wasn't sure if people want to display or if people want to play also.
Always want play. I think that's
you can never go wrong with it.
And I feel like we're beating a drum here, but it's like the play features will always be a good thing, because obviously everyone here that is submitting to BDP, they're very talented designers, right? And so designing a really beautiful static object is great, but in order to stand out from the crowd, people are looking at what are the other things that we can do. And we get comments about this all the time about the models that the Lego model designers are doing. It's like, this is really beautiful, but it'd be cool if it did something, right? Because
right.
if I design this thing, it's like, well, that's just a Lego built version of that. What does it do that is really cool? Because otherwise you could just have a painted statue of something and it would do the same thing, right?
Yeah. Right. Well, I really like right. My feature where the cauldron, it actually stirs.
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah.
And like the little bar actually does move the stuff around inside it, so it also works.
Yeah, and all of your features are they're really good.
Yeah,
and then
I think you're there.
Good, yep.
The stairs does move, and then you can also move that bookshelf.
Stairs and bookshelf.
Yeah, like there's a little turntable there. So I want to do something else. I don't know if you have any other ideas besides like a ghost and a treasure chest, or I feel like that's like classic design though. You can't really go wrong with it.
Yeah,
oh, that's cool.
And then I have like the bookshelf type thing. I use like I use the Harry Potter sticker.
Oh, is that what that is?
That is the original Harry Potter sticker.
Cool. We probably have to redo that one, but
well, obviously.
But it works for a placeholder. Yeah, so cool.
Yeah.
And then like that zombie table, it actually like you can pull it up like an actual table. So because of the hinges on the bottom. So I did try to include as many like moving parts as I could in this small space.
Yeah, no, there's a lot. Yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, you're there. I think it's like we said, it's the front. Maybe there's a little bit that can be done there, but otherwise,
gotcha. Anything for color wise, you think?
You're on palette, right? Like you're going for. I mean, I'm looking at it being like, yeah, it's
dark
like,
fall. Yeah, spooky colors.
Spooky time, right? Yeah, it's where it needs to be.
Yeah, really, it's just this gray wall. Yeah, just something little, break it up. That's about it. Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, I don't want to take up too much of your time here. I'm just trying to think of what else. Can we go over the cast of characters real quick if you think they're any good? You think, or I can like do better with some of these?
Yeah, I would. What I would do is if you are sometimes too many is. I guess I always try to think about like Lost City, for example, from Series 3. You know, I think there was some feedback around like there only being too many figures in that model, but it makes sense for the model, right? They're exploring, their adventure is exploring abandoned ruins, or so it wouldn't make sense if there's 20 people around. Otherwise, it's going to look like a very busy day at Machu Picchu or something. Like that's not what we're trying to go for here. And if this is I don't know that this is necessarily like if you're going for the haunted house vibe, then it's full of characters. Like that's one way of going about it, but I don't know that I necessarily feel like that's what the story is saying. Like it's clearly like there's a couple kids that are going and exploring this haunted mansion, and maybe there's like the Frankenstein zombie-esque monster in the basement and the ghost and that kind of thing. But I don't know that you need to have like.
Well, what if I try to? What if I try to spin it like so? Say this is going to be like a modern Lego town. She's trying to take over the town, so she's building an army.
Yeah, absolutely, right. I mean, yeah, sure, you could do something like that, but.
And then it's like it's up to the two kids, and no one believes the kids, so it's up to the two kids to stop this.
Yeah.
Something kind of like Stranger Things almost. I was also thinking maybe like add a policeman, or is that too much?
I mean, it just depends. I mean, it's hard for us to really truly provide too much of that without seeing what the final renders and things look like, because that'll really depict it all. Because I guess the issue is that like, is there a place for everyone to go? Think about it like if you're going to be doing the box art for this, does everyone have a place to go, or is it like there's so many figures it's just way too busy? Yeah.
Gotcha.
And that should tell you, okay, we're in the right place or we're not. Like I've got all these monsters just creating this army, but there's so many of them we can't even display them all. Right?
Yeah. Or like this where you have two ghosts. I think it makes sense to have one hidden back here, maybe. Maybe two is a bit much.
And then you said statues don't count, right? Like I have a Fright Night statue over there. I mean, the shield's broken due to a bug, but I'm gonna fix that.
Yeah.
So that doesn't count as a figure, correct?
Typically not. Yeah, if it's black, yeah, it's
probably fine.
Okay.
It's probably not. It's using. We try to stay towards the statue torsos, but yeah, it's. I mean, we're splitting hairs over one minifigure. I'm not worried about.
It's more what makes sense for this set.
Plus, I also like the bats above it too. I think that was a cool detail I added.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
The crystals.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, very good details.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. It was
Yeah,
great.
awesome.
It was great chatting with you, and thanks for all you do. I mean, you're quite a prolific designer, and you've been submitting to BDP a lot. So we definitely appreciate it, and always look forward to seeing all of your builds.
This was this is like one of the biggest build. This is like one of the biggest builds I made. It took me like 3 months. So
Wow.
So I mean, I'm always trying. So
yeah, it shows. Very, very well done.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. No, keep it up. It's definitely. I think you've been doing a great job with it. All right. Cool. All right. So that was pretty fun today. It was fun going through and talking to everyone. So thank you, Dallin, for joining us. And then, yeah, so Series 10 will start submitting in the 19th of January, and then that's open for roughly 2 weeks. As a reminder, you need to have your models submitted during that period. The earlier you submit it, the better it'll be. Obviously, we get a ton of models submitted right as soon as things open up, and so it takes us some time to go through and review those models. But if there is, our goal at the end of the day is to make sure all of the models are approved. We're right around low 90s in a sense of models that are submitted to what gets approved to go on to the voting phase. But don't sweat if there's any issues with your models or anything like that. If there's any little minor stuff, we typically, it's fine, it'll go through. We'll fix it if we need to fix it later on. If there's any of the things that are more major that are breaking some of the rules, we don't just reject your model. We will work with you. We'll send you a message, say this is what's wrong with it, and if you can update this. And then it doesn't need to be fixed before the end of the closing period. Once your model's submitted, you're in the queue. You're there. And there's a week after, in between when submissions close and then when voting starts, that we just have to have the model approved and ready before voting starts, right? So there's roughly a 3-week period there from the beginning where we can work on the models and get those ready for voting. So you put a lot of time and effort into these models, and so we want to make sure that they do get through to voting. So cool. Any little bit of last minute questions? When will we have the update for the parts? It should be there. I don't know if I've seen anyone else comment if they went live, but the parts should have went live. I got a note from one of the studio leads earlier that that this did go live today. So the January parts that are being added to the palette should be live. And then our instructions that we made, the final ones, or do they get changed? So great question. No, the instructions that you make are, so you don't even need to do the page view in a sense where it's the white sheet and you're showing flip arrows and all of those things. You do not need to do that. We're going to make changes, or we're going to work with you to make changes if you're selected as a finalist. But Dallin and the other BDP designers will go through and make those instructions and finalize them. So do not worry about it. We use the page step view, or the step view, which is kind of the black screen version of the instruction editor in Studio. And we use that just to kind of tab between all the builds and to follow along to see the build flow and to make sure things are possible. But yeah, otherwise you don't have to put a ton of effort into your instructions. The other thing that's in there you can do, if all of your parts are in one step, you can also just use auto-generate instructions, right? And so that'll do it. If you have multiple steps, it won't let you auto-generate. So get all your parts into one step. Or you can have sub-assemblies in one step. That's fine, and then you can auto-generate your sub-assemblies by going into them. But highly recommend that. That saves a lot of time. So cool. But otherwise, I think that's good. That's the end. That's the end of the stream. And thanks everyone for joining us. We'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.